Even
vicious block. And Hill with the explosion. In your face, head. Look out. Look out. Sets up Kemp. Oh, man. Roll the tape. Here it is. What a game. Oh, you gotta love that action.
We tip off our show by taking you into the action for the conclusion of the Rockets-Sonics Western Conference semifinals. With the Rockets up 3 games to 2, Seattle was fighting for their playoff lives at home in the Key Arena. And from the start, the defending Western Conference champions showed they wouldn't give up their crown so easily.
5-0 Seattle. Grabbed by Payton. Convoy. 3-on-2 to Coates. Into the lane. He clears for the tomahawk jam. Incredible play by the Rain Man Hawkins. Listen to the crowd at Key Arena.
The momentum was like a boulder coming down the side of a mountain and trying to hold it back.
In the second half, Houston somehow managed to stay close.
Drexler hits a 3.
But Gary Payton's drive in the closing moments sent this series to a Game 7.
It's been a hell of a series. We got a very good team. We got a very good team. But we're going to win Saturday.
In this decisive contest, Hakeem and the Rockets dreamed of another championship, while Seattle looked to keep their hopes alive.
Don't hesitate.
But this time, there was no quick start by either team, as they battled back and forth.
Reed down low. Barkley did it.
But the Rockets would pull ahead by 14 with under 4 minutes left in the game. Houston was on the move, but the Seattle Sonics staged a remarkable comeback.
9 straight points by Seattle.
I think this was really our first test as a team, truly a test.
But the resilient Rockets were able to hold on and advance to the Western Conference Finals.
I told my guys to enjoy the day, and we'll ask a question about Utah tomorrow. And they got the best team in the West. They've been consistent all season, and it's going to be a war.
Now, the Houston Rockets move on to take on the team with the best record in the West, the Utah Jazz, who hold the home court advantage. Now, we take a close look at the Western Conference Finals matchup and the recent playoff history between the Rockets and the Jazz. In 1994, Houston swept Utah in the first round of the playoffs.
Off to Ellie, a 3 from the right. Good. Mario Ellie jumping in the air.
In 1995, the two teams met again in the first round. This time, the Jazz built a 2-1 series lead. But Houston would battle back in dramatic fashion.
Drexler goes right around. Big one. Now it's down to winner take all Sunday afternoon in Salt Lake City.
And the Rockets showed their championship form, winning Game 5 with a huge fourth quarter comeback.
The ball game is over. How sweet it is.
This year, the top-seeded Jazz hope to finally beat the Rockets as they match up in the conference finals.
You know what they're going to do, and it's just a matter of can you stop it or not. In the past, we've had a lot of success, and hopefully that will continue.
4 on the shot clock. Got to shoot it. Barkley from the deep. Oh! Charles Barkley with a three-pointer!
2-2 in the regular season, and a lot of those games were close, so you expect at this level every game's going to be close, and against the team that plays the best will end up winning.
Karl Malone and the hometown Jazz were well rested for Game 1 of this evenly matched series. Unlike their tired opponents, Utah hadn't played in 6 days, but the Jazz picked up right where they left off.
Russell, the steal and a driving layup.
The Rockets never seemed to get into an offensive rhythm, and also couldn't match Utah's bench, which outscored the Rockets' reserves 31-15.
Foster hits a 3. He has 7 points in the second quarter.
My man Greg Foster came out and played great today, and we were going to need that all the way through.
Russell for 3, shot no good. Shannon Anderson, what a rebound. Scoring the bucket.
With a bench doing its job, Utah's dynamic duo of John Stockton and Karl Malone also did their part as the Jazz won Game 1 easily.
The only positive thing about this game was it was over. That was the only positive thing about it. And we will play better next game.
Coming up next, our playoff coverage continues with the conclusion of the Eastern Conference semifinals. We'll see if Alonzo Mourning and the Miami Heat could come back against the New York Knicks.
He can take over a ball game. Fires again.
In 1993, when as a member of the Charlotte Hornets, they matched up against the Boston Celtics.
I knew that, we had the talent level to play against anybody, and that included the Boston Celtics.
103-102 Boston. Come on, gang, we're going to win this game. We're going to win the game. You got to believe you're going to win it.
This is for the win and the series.
Here's Mourning, the shot. Game over.
It's through my hands, because all those years of hard work, and then you sum it all up and you just live for that one moment.
The biggest shot in Charlotte basketball history.
Now, we take you back into the action for the conclusion of the Eastern Conference semifinals between the Knicks and the Heat. Down 3-1, Miami hoped to send the series back to New York, but the Knicks had other ideas as they built an early lead. With elimination staring them in the face, Miami's Shawn got hot. The Heat guard regained his shooting touch and kept his team in the game.
That's a three.
And the Heat took the lead with some all-out hustle.
Leonard for three. Oh, boy. Shawn Leonard.
Dan Marley's big three-pointer sealed the win, and Miami stayed alive.
Wrap this one up. We're going to New York.
It's a pressure game for them. They've got to win. I've been there in those 6 games, and we've lost a few of them.
In Game 6, the Knicks were determined to hold on to their home court advantage and end the series in New York.
Childs off the spin.
Childs is so pumped.
This time, it was the Knicks who were red hot.
The Knicks are on fire.
But Alonzo Mourning turned up the heat and elevated his game. The All-Star center led his team back into the contest. And when New York began to struggle, Miami seized the opportunity.
Mourning able to make the catch. And what a finish.
Zoe would force a Game 7 in Miami.
Oh, wow. My goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Everything's on the line. It's a do-or-die situation, And like I said, we've been in some very adverse situations before, but we managed to overcome it.
Now, this dramatic series had come down to one final game. From the start, it was clear that Miami was ready for the challenge as they dominated New York in the first quarter.
18 unanswered by Miami.
And in the second half, Tim Hardaway was the man for Miami.
Hardaway for three. Oh! An extraordinary show being put up by Tim Hardaway.
Tim Hardaway finished with a playoff best 38 points.
The Heat comes back from a 3-1 deficit, and they move on to the Eastern Conference Final.
It was just great, just to come out and be in conference finals. I'm elated.
In the Eastern Conference, the playoff picture's this. The Miami Heat move on to face the Chicago Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, we take a close look at the Eastern Conference Finals and the recent playoff history between the Miami Heat and Chicago Bulls. In 1992, Miami made the playoffs for the first time in team history. Their first-round opponent, the world champion Chicago Bulls.
Jordan drives again.
In 1996, the Heat returned to the playoffs and again faced the Bulls in the first round.
MJ between them all. He got every one of them. Yes!
Jordan and company swept Miami for a second time, on their way to another title.
The Bulls have been superb.
The Bulls are going to be obviously hugely favored. They've got heart, they've got experience, they got the greatest player in the history of the game. We have to feel like if we do what it is we do best, that we have a chance.
This year, the Heat did manage to split the season series with Chicago, matching them shot for shot.
And the steal by Jordan.
Look out. Oh! Time winding down. Right away to the lane. Kick out for Marley for three. Look it up.
They feel confident they can beat us. We feel that we are vulnerable if we don't play our type of basketball. But we do know if we play our game, we shouldn't worry about anybody.
In Game 1, everyone expected the well-rested Chicago Bulls to coast to victory. But it was the Heat who came out red hot, building a 16-point lead in the first half. Despite 20 points by Michael Jordan, it was Miami who played like world champions.
Here goes. And there's Morning again. And there's Morning again. Oh, my goodness.
The visiting Heat seemed to be on the verge of a big upset. But in the second half, the Bulls turned up the intensity.
Here's Pippen for three. What a job by Scottie Pippen.
As usual, Michael Jordan rose to the occasion, scoring 38 points as the Chicago Bulls survived Game 1.
What a move by Michael. Chicago comes from 11 down at halftime, and they win it by 7.
Bottom line is we were able to come back and, win a ball game that they could easily have taken control and won.
Coming up, we'll log on to NBA.com for the announcement of this year's Most Valuable Player Award and the results of the 1997 Draft Lottery. And later, we'll profile a player who's making a sudden impact in Utah.
Russell left free for the dunk.
It's not professional pressure cleaning. It's the
Time to log on to NBA.com for the announcement of the 1997 MVP Award. At the age of 33, Utah's Karl Malone became the oldest player in NBA history to win the Most Valuable Player Award. The mailman edged out Chicago's Michael Jordan by 29 points. It was the second closest race in MVP history.
Congratulations, Karl Malone, 1996-97 NBA Most Valuable Player. And I get the award, and to me, it's the ultimate. When you don't have any individual goals, and then it happened like this, to me, it's unbelievable, and it's something I'll never forget.
This year, Malone became the only player to score 2,000 points in 10 straight seasons. He also led the Jazz to their best regular season ever.
I think their consistency, definitely had something to do with it this year.
Now, we find out who received the top pick in this year's draft lottery. This event determines the order that non-playoff teams will pick in the draft, and Boston had the best chance for the top pick.
The first pick in the 1997 NBA draft goes to the San Antonio Spurs. Congratulations.
We didn't think we had a chance, with the percentages that Boston had, so we're obviously rethinking things pretty quickly here.
The second pick now belonged to either the Celtics, the Sixers, or the Grizzlies.
Second pick goes to the Philadelphia 76ers.
With the Sixers getting the second pick, the Celtics got the third.
Would you rather have them win? I'm sure you would. All of us would. It didn't happen in this reality.
Now let's check out the rest of the order in the upcoming NBA draft. Once again, the Spurs, the Sixers, and the Celtics receive the top 3 picks, while the Grizzlies, Nuggets, and Celtics will pick 4th, 5th, and 6th. The Nets, Warriors, and Raptors have the next 3 picks, while the Bucks, Kings, Pacers, and Cavaliers will pick at numbers 10 through 13. In other news, the Trailblazers hired a new head coach. Mike Dunleavy coached the Bucks from 1992 to 1996. Now, he'll try to win in Portland.
The reason I'm here is because I want to win a championship. It's been my goal as a player, as a coach.
Dunleavy came close to winning a championship in 1991 as the head coach of the LA Lakers, but they lost to the Chicago Bulls. It's time now for our weekly WNBA update. Recently, the league's 8 teams held open tryouts to fill their last 2 roster spots.
We are there! Today is all about you and your goals, your hopes, and your dreams. And you are definitely a part of history.
The tryouts attracted athletes with a wide range of backgrounds. Stephanie Childs was able to turn to her brother Nick guard Chris Childs for some advice. And in Charlotte, 50-year-old Sonny Jones proved that age could not prevent a dream.
We've been waiting many years, many years. And if you don't make it, I encourage you, please keep coming back.
The season begins June 21st. Now it's time for our viewer email. This week's question comes to us from James Whalen of Salisbury Downs, Australia, who asks, what will the Washington Bullets' new team logo look like? Well, James, just this week, the NBA franchise officially changed its team name to the Wizards and unveiled a new logo.
Today I'm just really excited to, like Juwan said, become a Wizard because it's the start of something new. I believe we can start a new tradition.
Now we take you to another basketball dimension for some of the week's best plays in the highlight zone. We get into the zone with a guy in a shooting zone, Tim Hardaway.
Hardaway for 3.
Tim's unbelievable Game 7 performance included 18 third-quarter points.
It has been a intense performance by Tim Hardaway.
The zone is about playoff intensity. Isn't that right, Sir Charles?
He is dominating the board.
Charles Oakley also specializes in this all-out approach to basketball. And so does his teammate, Buck Williams.
Hardaway on the drive. Buck Williams with a sensational block.
And here's Miami's man in the middle.
Charles intercepted by Moore.
It looks like Turbo, the Houston mascot's trying to show some of the Rockets how to slam dunk. But you know, Hakeem really doesn't need any lessons.
Drexler down the lane, missed the layup, tipped up Olajuwon. Starts on the drive off the clear out, and he lays it in on the reverse.
Yeah, it's tough to stop an explosive drive.
Payton snakes around and scores.
But nothing will drive an opponent more crazy than well-executed teamwork.
Nice pass, beauty. John Starks.
We leave the zone on this great pick and roll from the Dream Drexler duo.
Olajuwon from Drexler.
If this country is to keep its place in the world, our colleges must become new places.
Driving on Olajuwon, into the lane, to the hoop, lays it up, hoop, and a foul.
Oh, what a move. Kemp gets the ball out at the top of the key from the out of bounds and goes into Hakeem and does a spin, gets it to go up and goes down.
Now, we profile Utah's other starting forward, who's making a sudden impact with the Jazz. Bryon Russell just may be one of the best players you've never heard of. But his exciting style of play has become difficult to ignore.
Russell left free for the dunk. Russell from Stockton. Oh, that's a tough shot by Bryon Russell. Hammer dunk. Oh, what a dandy. Oh, what a shot.
My attitude is to go out there and work hard and get the job done no matter what it is.
This no-nonsense approach to the game is the essence of the Utah Jazz. And few members of the team embody these traits more than Bryon Russell.
What a shot! Oh, Bryon Russell!
If I never seen Bryon Russell play, I'd be like, that's a hard-working guy. I mean, he want to get out there and get the job done, and I would want him on my team.
Though he might be overshadowed by his superstar teammates, Russell has his own way of catching your attention.
And I knew one thing, the guy has incredible hops.
A dandy by Bryon Russell, looking down through the hoop, and he slammed it home.
You know, a lot of people don't know who he is, but the young man can play.
When Bryant entered the league in 1994, he was known for his defense. But during Utah's playoff run last year, Russell emerged as an offensive force.
Things were just falling for me. Everything was just dropping. And just national attention came to me.
Bryon Russell going coast to coast. Russell can get upstairs. Oh, Bryon Russell!
You better start paying attention to Bryon Russell.
And though the playoffs brought out the best in Russell, the Jazz still fell short of their first finals appearance.
Playoffs is a whole nother level, and we almost pulled it off, but almost ain't good enough. We just got to try again this year.
So far in the postseason, Utah has dominated their opponents, and Russell has energized the Jazz with his exciting play.
He realized in order to try to play, hard work was where it was at, and that's the only way he's going to get the chance, and it certainly has paid off for him.
Now an NBA title is within their reach, and the Jazz are relying on team chemistry to help achieve their goal.
We're close. I mean, this had to be the closest team I've been on since I've been here at the Jazz, and we stick together. It's like everything is do or die for us. We all out there in it to win it, and we all know what we can do out there.
Yes! Bryon Russell!
Welcome to sunny California. Man, if it wasn't raining, I'll be busting y'all up right now.
Now it's time for the top 10 plays of the week in our courtside countdown. At number 10, it's the Miami Heat's point guard, Tim Hardaway.
Back the other way, Hardaway, killer crossover. Pick up the lingerie.
At 9, it's Charles Oakley to Patrick Ewing.
Oakley for Ewing, right at number 33 on that opening pass, and the Knicks for the 2-0 lead.
At number 8, it's the Rockets' Clyde the Glide Drexler to Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon.
Whips a pass underneath to Olajuwon for the layup. A one-handed pass. The defense couldn't recover. Great pass by Drexler.
At number 7, it's Isaac Austin of the Miami Heat.
Here's Ike going strong for 2. That's well executed. Austin having his way inside.
At number 6, it's Austin once again. This time he does it on defense.
And here's Oakley. Rejected by Austin. What a play by Isaac Austin.
Watch the defensive effort by him right now.
At number 5, this time Drexler and Olajuwon switch roles in the countdown.
Olajuwon with the drive, and look at the spin move. Oh, baby, by Clyde Drexler.
At number 4, it's the Chicago Bulls' Michael Jordan.
MJ. Oh,
he did it.
Now just watch this backdoor move by Michael coming, and naturally Mutombo's coming from the other side, but he's late.
At number 3, it's John Stockton of the Utah Jazz with this buzzer beater.
Finds answer another shot. John Stockton fires it up. Oh, wow. John Stockton, and we've seen that before.
Now keep an eye on this. He banks this in. How about this one? Beautiful.
At number 2, Clyde the Glide soars into the countdown for a 3rd time.
Rims it out. Clyde Drexler. Where did he come from? Clyde on the glide.
And the number 1 play of the week is from Larry Johnson of the New York Knicks.
Here's Johnson getting inside. Goes to the reverse.
Larry Johnson, watch this shot. Everything was closed out except his backwards jumping layup.
I'm Jim Fagan for NBA Action. See you next week.